Like, right?
Yeah.
Like the message is getting kind of old. And his team is aging, and they haven't done much to replenish it. You still have fucking James Milner, and I love James Milner. Don't get me wrong, I love James Milner. I would love to have him at Chelsea. I personally would love to have him at Chelsea. He is somebody who is going to absolutely give everything he's got for whatever. I would love him at Chelsea, not as a starter. Calm down, guys. Not as a starter. I would like him as like somebody for a cup. Like, let him go out and do cup things. If you can get him on a free, why not? But Liverpool's message is it's getting old, and I give Klopp until January, until he's probably gone.
That's a hot take.
I won't be offended.
I've said this to you already once this year, but that was the dumbest take I've ever heard.
Matt, you can start your team with your Timos and your James Milners and your guys who like to try hard and put in lots of effort and not do anything. You can just have them.
Siemi Bakayoko, oh yeah, Samina Mina, Edward Mende, Samina Mina Sam Sadakte. He comes from Senegal.
And I think going out and get Saul was the top transfer of the market for Chelsea.
Chesney could have been in the shower smoking a cigarette like he was at Arsenal, and we still would not have scored.
My rants have been fueled by Scott. Don't get it twisted.
Big Rom. Man, fuck you.
In Roman we trust, right?
You and me are going to have a battle royale about Jorginho and diving.
The flag stays down!
Welcome to the Flag Stays Down podcast. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. You've got me here, Andy. You can follow me at Comiskey North. Just to give you guys a heads up, I've been watching a lot of It's Always Sunny today. Kind of binged that. So that's where we're going to go with the theme on this. The boys asked for adjectives to come back, and that's where we're going. So we got the day man himself, fighter of the night man, Parker at DJ Parkour.
Day man, fighter of the night man, champion of the sun.
And wildcard bitches, Matt at Matus Lee.
Guys, why aren't the brakes working?
Because I cut the brakes! Wild card, bitches! Yeah!
We also have a guest host tonight, welcoming Scott. Scott, I apologize. I couldn't think of another Third Sunny reference. I've only watched a couple episodes, but he's with the Milwaukee Blues, and you can follow him at MKEBlues_Scott. But we will start with you tonight. Scott, how you doing?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. And by the way, I will take the trash man as my It's Always Sunny a reference. I think that's quite fitting. Yeah, it's exciting.
Well, we're definitely glad to have you. Parks, how you doing tonight?
Well, just dandy. It's been a great day. I had my folks up. So kicking back, I am doing a sober October challenge, so I will not be partaking with you guys, but I picked up a 12-pack of Heineken 0.0, which if you don't drink and you still pretty much want a beer, Heineken 0.0 is actually pretty legit. So I will be sipping on those tonight. But yeah, great weekend. It was a hell of a week for the Blues, so I'm in a really good mood.
There you go.
That's all you can hope for, right? Collins, how you doing?
I'm good. Had my wife's birthday yesterday, so shout out to Nicole. It was good. We went to Mobcraft, and boys, I had my favorite beer of all time. Originally, it was Fruity Hopples from Mobcraft. It's been my favorite for a long time. They discontinued that. they just released Bobbin for Caramel, which is a caramel apple sour. Oh, shout out to Mobcraft. We love them, and it is by far my new favorite beer. So it's been a good weekend. Matt, how about you?
Yeah, it's been good. Got a lot of kind of odds and ends stuff taken care of around the house. Just kind of filling up on firewood and all that stuff. But yeah, just kind of getting some stuff done. But yeah, everything's going good. It was a good week. Good week for the boys. So, here we are. A good Sunday night and throwing a few back. So can't ask for much more than that.
All right. Well, we are on episode 9 this week. And Scott, what we like to do is kind of make every episode in memoriam of somebody who wore that number jersey. So
you picked a good one.
I was going to say, man, you guys, man, good looking out. This is going to be a hot take machine over here.
Well, I made it a little bit easier. I put a poll up on our Twitter account. You can follow that at FlagDownPod. 4 choices for recent number 9s. You got Tammy Abraham, Romelu Lukaku, Fernando Torres, or Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Scott, who are you taking?
As in, like, who would I prefer to have on my squad?
Yeah.
Man. I mean, I'm a Tammy truther, so I'm all for Tammy. He unfortunately left us a little too soon. Who knows if buyback clause or anything is going to come into effect? That's a different topic for a different day. But yeah, I was all about Tammy. I didn't think he got enough love, and I think he should be our striker right now, quite honestly.
Yeah,
I gotta go with Torres for exactly 1 goal. 1 goal, and everybody knows exactly what goal I'm talking about. I don't have to say anything further. 1 goal. That's the only reason why he gets my vote.
Do we have to pick somebody that wears number 9? Can we just leave that vacant for a while?
Maybe we should have just skipped to episode 10.
Episode 9.5. But if I have to choose one, I'm probably gonna go with Tammy. For a lot of the same reasons that Scott said. Like, he came onto the scene real quick, showed what he can do, and then, whether it's his fault or not, he kind of went on a bit of a dry spell, and it just kind of didn't fit what we needed or whatever manager needed at the time. So, and unfortunately with Chelsea's track record with managers, that can change very quickly. So, yeah, I think Tammy, especially with his opportunity right now in Roma and potential buyback, I think he's got a better shot. So I would go with Tammy.
Just to be different, I'm going to go Lukaku, just because he
of all people are going to go with Rom.
Flashback to the intro song here with the big Rom, fuck you. No, but he provided a lot of fodder. He gave us something to talk about on this pod. So for that, he's the GOAT.
Chelsea will always have something to talk about. Don't worry, it doesn't need to be a Lukaku, but may as well be the number 9. Why not?
Did he ease the blow of Roman having to sell the club? I don't know.
Hey, Ben.
You're grasping here, man.
Yeah,
You're on your own.
I am. But I also did take Ross Barkley for number 8. So
I see what's happening here.
yeah.
All right. Well, on tonight's episode, cover a couple topics. We did have a couple wins in the week, or this week. We had 3-0 victory over AC Milan.
Chilwell again. And it's a header from Thiago Silva again. Still an opportunity for Chelsea. And it's in from Fofana. Milan failed to deal with the corner kick. 3 opportunities in as many minutes for Thiago Silva. Chilwell's got him behind Dest. Couldn't pick out Aubameyang. James will keep the move alive. Aubameyang! Chelsea 2, Milan 0. Well, Milan have lost a bit of heart here. Sterling. And now James. 3. Smashed into the roof of the Milan net. Reece James takes the game away from Milan.
3-0 victory over Wolves.
Chalobah. Mount again. Good ball to the far post. Surely it's there. It is there. And it's Kai Havertz who's finally found the breakthrough for Chelsea. Here's Pulisic for Chelsea. And fine curling effort in the first half, tipped over by Son. He might get another chance now. Pulisic. And it's 2-0. Havertz in the first half. Pulisic in the second. And Chelsea are motoring now. Chich playing in Breuer. Flag stays down. It's Breuer. And that is his first goal for Chelsea. Orlando Breuer off the bench and onto the score sheet. And it's Chelsea's day at Stamford Bridge.
Goals galore, which has been kind of off key for Chelsea as of late. But we're going to talk about no Fofana, no problem, seemingly. We're going to choose Kepa or Mendy in goal. And finally, we'll talk a little bit about our seemingly newfound creativity in attack. We'll start first with that defense, because I saw some stat, and God, I should have brought it up here. But as we were telling Scott, we don't really take any notes prior to the pod. That Chelsea had successive clean sheets for the first time in X amount of months. It's been a long time. And we had a back five against Milan-ish, back four, back five hybrid. Definitely a back four today against Wolves. But one key piece was missing today, and that was Wesley Fofana. So we've got a little bit of depth issues, but it didn't seem to be a problem. Was that just it being Wolves today, or is the defense going to go back to being a strength, in the next couple of weeks here?
Well, I sure as hell hope that it's going to come back to being a strength. I mean, West going down is troublesome, but I don't know if anybody's going to say that Fofana's been a standout player a whole lot. Yeah, he scored a goal, but I think he's been kind of getting his feet wet on the team. But it's obviously a poorly timed injury. He just seemed to kind of be getting going, and starting to hit the matches hot and heavy for World Cup. You got to feel for the guy. But yeah, man, I mean, I think it's a little bit of A, a little bit of B. I mean, Wolves is not very good, but AC is really good. And, Reece James doing his thing on Leao in midweek, and Koulibaly, back in the team, and he didn't put a foot wrong. And, Thiago's Thiago, and Aspie's playing better than he has in a while. Man, you certainly hope that they are on the up and up, and hope that West can get back here pretty soon, because I'll tell you, man, I mean, with the two matches they just played back to back, got 3-0, 3-0, and there's rotation galore, and they somehow still made it work. So, say what you will about Wolves, but they are a Premier League team. And yeah, man, I mean, 2 clean sheets in a row. That's pretty great. So I'm here for it.
I was impressed. I was impressed with how Trev did when he came in too. Leao got around Reece a couple of times, and Trev kind of cleaned up, which was good to see. And then the other big standout for me was the fact that Silva didn't play, and he's my security blanket, and he didn't play against Wolves. And Koulibaly has had a lot of question marks around him for me at the start of the season, and he looked all right. So yeah, I'm hoping we can kind of get our swagger back on defense. It's going to be tough, because I know when we control 75% of the ball, you open yourself up, right? And if you only have a back four and you've got Reece bombing down the right, you open yourself up, and good teams can counter you and pick you apart. And it's only a couple passes and some space to run in on. And so the fact that we haven't conceded, I was going through it in my head. I was wondering if that was more impressive, or the fact that we scored 3 goals each game. What stat was more impressive in my head? Was it the clean sheets back to back, or the back to back 3 goals? I got to say the 3 goals, just because we haven't scored that many in a long time. And, this team still has championship DNA and super defensive DNA. And so I think we're getting back to some of those things. I just hope we can continue that run again in Italy at San Siro, kind of do it to them again and blank them again. If we win 1-0 at San Siro, that's a huge victory to me. Even if we don't score the 3 again, if we blank them again, that'll stand out for me.
Yeah, I think so. A couple things. I'm in agreement. I haven't been overly impressed with Fofana, especially with the price tag that was assigned to him. Again, price tags are astronomical nowadays, even for, I'm not saying Fofana is a mediocre player, but even for like a mediocre player, you're looking 40, 50, and you're like, really that much? But he hasn't impressed me to the level that I saw him at Leicester. And again, that's coming into a new team, trying to fit in right away. Like, it's tough. There's a learning curve there. I get it. I think, Parker, you kind of called that out. Like, Silva didn't play against Wolves. That's huge. And I thought Trev had a very good game after coming in for Fofana in the Champions League and then right away against Wolves. I thought he had a great game. The Wolves game to me was a little bit bend, not break, because Wolves is a very counterattacking team, and we usually don't do too well against counterattacking teams, just because our defense has been like an aging defense, and for a good part of it. But now that you have some other pieces there that can fill in and take care of that, and to a point almost take the burden off Thiago Silva, right? I feel like he's had the entire back line on his back for, ever since he stepped foot, on the Stamford Bridge. But yeah, I would say the defense is the best part of the 2 matches. That's what got us to the Champions League, and that's what got us to the final. It was a stout defense that did not concede. And if everything is looking good there, the goals will come, as we're starting to see now. They will be there. I'm more impressed with the defense than I am the attacking side of the ball.
The stat that always blows my mind, and it's come up now a couple times this week, is that Chelsea have never lost a game that Trev Chalobah has started. I don't understand how that's possible, but I love it.
It's a good one.
It's like 17 games too.
Yeah.
It's a lot of games. It's not like 4, it's a legitimate stat.
And the thing I like about him, he's not the flashiest player. He's not always necessarily the most coordinated player. Like he doesn't, what he does doesn't look smooth. But he gets the job done. And especially pairing him with Reece James on that right side, I think is a positive, because they're going to be able to cover up for each other quite a bit. They both move pretty well. Chalobah was a former midfielder, so if he needs to get up, he can. If he needs to track back, he certainly can do that. I like where it is. I kind of question our depth going forward, considering we have 7 more matches left this month. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to look, but I think as long as Potter is willing to continue to rotate, I think that we're gonna see positive things. It may not be a clean sheet week in and week out, but it's gonna be positive as long as you're keeping those guys involved. All right. Well, speaking of clean sheets, Kepa Arrizabalaga kept his 48th of his Chelsea career. Scott rocking the Kepa jersey, which I love. So one thing I will say is that Graham Potter seemingly has come in and it's, playing the hot hand, playing whoever is, seems to be playing at their best for regardless of position. And it seems especially at keeper, he's doing that. Mendy is cleared to play. I think both players are going to play at some point this month. But Kepa's getting a string of starts here. And I know we've been pushing for that on this pod a little bit. But do we think Kepa's going to retain that number 1 shirt? I mean, obviously he's number 1 on the team sheet, but is he going to retain that number 1 spot? or is Mendy going to reclaim that at some point this year?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I think until Kepa does something to take the starting berth away from him, you got to go with him. And he hasn't been bad since he's been starting. He's been pretty darn good. And yeah, Wolves, he probably didn't have to do anything, but let's call it what it is too. Mendy was not doing all that great leading up to this string of games. He was definitely pretty sketchy. He wasn't the Champions League winning and African Cup of Nations winning goalie that he was previous to that. So I think he was kind of on shaky ground to begin with. And I guess you kind of say, you don't lose your starting job because of injury, but at the same time, because of what led up to that, I think that's just kind of the catalyst that kind of got Kepa into the net. And again, if Kepa does what Kepa does from time to time, and he has a couple of boneheaded goals go in, sure, maybe Mendy starts having a question. But also at the same time, that's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, we've got two legit starting keepers. I mean, are they, are either one of them a total stud like an Allison or whoever else, Donnarumma or somebody like that? No, but we've got two legitimate starting keeper options, and if one kind of starts to slack, then you got the other to come in there. And Kepa too, to his credit, I mean, he did it under Tuchel when he was kind of frozen out for a little bit, and he is a very, I think, mentally strong guy. And once he kind of came in from the cold, he killed it. So I mean, I think I'm really, really happy for the guy. Couldn't be happier that he stuck through it and he's playing the way that he is. Does he have his his shortcomings? Absolutely, for sure. But to be fair, so does Mendy, and I guess Mendy's got that little bit more typical keeper build for sure. And, again, Kepa is a little bit shorter and he's not going to be stopping everything from outside the box. But I don't know, man, the dude, when he's on his game, he's a freaking baller, man. So I like his attitude. That's my manager. As Graham Potter's only head coach right now, Kepa's our manager. So while we got him, we gotta back the manager.
That's so good.
Go ahead, Matt.
So I completely agree. I think it's Kepa's job to lose. And even with Mendy at the tail end of last year, probably the last 2 months of the season, we started to see just errors that we didn't expect out of him. Kepa's been waiting for this opportunity. He's been waiting patiently. I think the other big thing that I really like about what we have with Mendy and Kepa is that they're both there for each other. We heard the story about Mendy leaving his towel or giving his towel to Kepa when he went to AFCON. There's just a great relationship between the two. They know that they are both very good, and I think that pushes them to be even better. I give the nod to Kepa in general for two reasons. A, he dominates the box. He has no problem going up. He has no problem coming out on a corner, on a free kick. He owns that box. Mendy is still very hesitant when it comes to something like that, which I find surprising considering the fact that he's 6'7". The other thing is the distribution. Kepa has great distribution. Mendy is kind of getting better. I guess that's the nicest way I can put it. His distribution isn't the best. But I think that's where Kepa kind of has the edge. Yes, shot stopping, I would probably lean a little bit more towards Mendy, but it's only slight. I think it's just because of the height difference. I think right now you stay with Kepa. He is your guy. He has not done anything to lose that spot. And right now, Mendy hasn't done anything to reclaim that spot. So I think, you kind of go with who's been serving you well. Hard to argue against two clean sheets. So you got to stick with who's in there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hot hand sort of a year for these guys, and Collins, you called that early on, and I'm all for it. Scott, one slight disagreement with what you said. You said you didn't have anything to do against Wolves, which he didn't. However, one thing I saw that he did do that I really, really like is I don't even remember when this was in the match, but he came 45 yards out to clear a ball. And I love that so much because it's such a difference from what Mendy ever does. And he's got control, man. He's got some swagger. He plays in control. He knows exactly what he's doing. And it feels like he's on his toes all the time. Even when, we're in their half and we're kind of controlling possession, it seems like he's like, all right, when am I going? When am I going? What am I doing? What am I doing? Like always kind of thinking, always kind of bopping, always kind of doing something because he acts very, very quickly in those situations. And I don't think every keeper in the world does that. So I really like that. But the last thing I'll say is I think we will see a string of Mendy performances that will remind us what he has done. There have been moments where he's saved games and arguably won games for us. And I know it's easy to forget because Kepa is the one who's in front of us, and Kepa's super solid and he's doing a lot. And Mendy was doing some stuff to kind of, make us all a little bit weary of his talents, but he is still a great keeper. He'll have his moments, and I think he's going to remind us sometime in the season what he can do. Some of those snap saves that he's made where it's like a header in the box and he just throws an arm up and just gets it over. Like he's made some insane saves. I think we'll see it.
I think Mendy will play a couple matches. Well, obviously with again 7 more matches this month, Mendy will play at some point. I don't think he's going to reclaim that number 1 spot though. We have 45 days until the World Cup, and then the Premier League is off for a little over a month. I'm not sure Mendy regains his spot in that time, and then it's going to take time to reintegrate into the squad and all that because Kepa's not going to the World Cup. Kepa will be here training, or in London training. But what I like about Kepa is he has matured since he first came to the club as a world record keeper, world record signing keeper. First becoming Mr. Manager. Shout out to Scott on that reference. That was class. But since then, he's lost his spot. He hasn't really said anything to the media as other players have on this team when they lose their spot. He's just kind of sat back and worked and stuck around. And that there were the reports at the end of last year that he had been working with Petr Cech on changing his goalkeeper style. I'm not a goalkeeping connoisseur. My eye is not trained to see what's different, but I do see that he's more confident in himself and he's less erratic. He makes less stupid mistakes than he did early on. And that comes with age, comes with repetition, all that. But I'm okay with him retaining that starting role at least through the World Cup. I think a little bit of consistency there, just like with a quarterback, just like with a center fielder or anything like that, is going to be pretty key to how we progress here over the next month and a half. And do you know what that was? I do want to give a shout out because I forgot that at the beginning. That was a question from listener. I believe Scott may know this person. Just call me DZ at Encyclodeezy.
DZ.
So thank you for the question. And I think we're all kind of in agreement here. It seems like Kepa, for the time being, should be retaining that number 1 spot. All right. Well, shifting from the defense to the attack, I've noticed we seem to have a lot more creativity in the attack, and we talked about that a bit last week. But 6 goals in 2 matches, I think, kind of puts that kind of at the front here. So, just kind of a general topic here. What are we seeing that's different over the last 4 weeks that's leading to these goals?
Man, I'll tell you what, I don't know what the hell we're seeing because I can't make any sense of the formation and who's playing where sometimes. And it's great though, man. It's like it's anarchy, and it's definitely a far cry from the latter Tuchel days. RIP Tuchel, but At the same time, I mean, like, it's so much different, and you kind of wonder, like, what the hell got into these guys, and what's Potter telling them. But you got Jorginho playing forward passes. You got Conor Gallagher being a freaking pest all over the place, and Aubameyang, who looks like a legit striker. That when's the last time we had one of those? And Ruben's in the team playing well, and yeah, man, I just like, especially watching that Wolves game, man. And again, Wolves, take it with a grain of salt if you need to, but like, everybody just looked crisp and clean, and everything. It looked like there was a purpose for everybody, and you can't really pick a bad performance out of it. Everything just looked so fluid and with a purpose. And yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, here's hoping that that's something that sticks around. I mean, I think there's still probably a couple of players and a couple of positions that aren't ideal. Jorginho stands out, but again, to be fair, I mean, he was the weak link, but it's kind of like, it's not like he played super poorly. But yeah, man, I don't know. I'm here for it. I don't remember the last time that we've seen 3 goals in 2 games running. So I love it, and here's hoping we can keep on going.
Let's go ahead. That's second.
I was kind of hoping Matt would lead on that after the Jorginho comment.
My apologies.
Turn an hour-long pod into a 2-hour-long pod.
That's always the biggest argument between Collins and I, is about Jorginho.
Yeah, it's a lightning rod.
Yes, it is. But Collins, go ahead.
So the thing that I'm seeing that's different is guys are being played to their strengths. They're being played, for the most part, in their natural positions. You look specifically at today's match, allowing Pulisic to actually run at people. Or not today's match, yesterday's match. Sorry, I just watched it today. Allowing Pulisic to run at people. We hadn't seen that. And granted, we hadn't seen a lot of Pulisic this year, but when he was in, he wasn't given license to just go. Mason Mount kind of floating around the top of the box is, I think, where he's at his strongest. Conor Gallagher playing in one half of the field, and allowing him to be pesky, but also go forward and start the attack. I thought he was honestly my man of the match for the Wolves match. But yeah, like you said, Aubameyang looks like a legitimate striker, which is fantastic, especially at our club. And then, Dave, Matt, I know you had talked about this a couple weeks ago, but Dave playing it right back looked rejuvenated today. It looked good. He didn't look slow and befuddled. And I think playing guys in their rightful positions and not having 6 guys playing out of position in a single match is leading to a little bit more openness, a little more creativity, and hopefully the goals keep flowing as long as we keep doing that.
Yeah, I think it was a really solid match, front to back. I was very skeptical in our group chat in the first half. I thought Pulisic had a better first half than Mount and Kai did, up until the goal right at the end of the first half. Then you kind of have to eat your words on that when Mount goes right to Kai. But I did think that Christian had a more productive, a more efficient first half than the other two. However, it was tough when we're talking about who's our man of the match, who's our man of the get the fuck out of here award. Like, it was hard to find somebody for the latter. It was very tough. As much as I am not a huge supporter of Jorginho, I didn't think he had a bad match. I really didn't. His defense was what I expect of him. But that is what it is. It kind of comes with the territory. But I thought that he had a solid match from his perspective, but Connor just looked after it. He was hungry. He wanted to impact the match. Like, he wanted to just absolutely grab a hold of that match and make it his own. And I love that. We haven't seen that in a while. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've noticed is everybody looks hungry. They look determined to try and take over the match. They want to do something. It's good to see. I'm definitely all in favor of it. And again, going up against Wolves, we didn't have like our A+ attacking, lineup out there, and we were still able to produce a good amount of chances. That comes to the other half of why we're squandering so many chances, but we're at least scoring. So there's something to be said about that. But yeah, it looks more dynamic. It seems like we're not waiting to go down 1-0 before we actually start, trying. And I like that. We're trying to get on the front foot early and, get a hold of the lead. And then, yeah, we can start, kicking it in the back and, just keep passing the ball, get the touches, whatever. But we just look hungry. We look just ambitious and wanting to make an impact on the game. And that's from every single individual that's on there. And I think we didn't see that in the last 3 months of Tuchel. Everything just looked kind of stale. It seemed like there wasn't a lot of freedom. And this seems very, so Scott, you mentioned like, a little bit of anarchy. It seems like a controlled Frank Lampard team. Like not just people running all over the place with no direction or anything like that. Like they have direction, but they also have freedom to do what they want. And I think that's probably the biggest change in what we saw from Tuchel, because he was very calculated in what he wanted everybody to do. Now we're seeing everybody kind of open up, because if you look at our team, nobody's really a set position player. Like nobody is a definite right wing. Nobody is a definite left wing. Our strikers are Aubameyang, who is a striker, and then Kai Havertz, who is, honestly, he should be behind a number 9. But like everybody is just kind of in different places, but they all have the freedom, as long as they communicate with each other, to do what they need to do. And I think that's probably the biggest change that I've noticed as we've kind of gone through the quote unquote Potter era so far, is just the amount of freedom that everybody has. And it allows for all that creativity to start flowing rather than be, very contracted in what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I like what you said, Matt. I agree with a lot of those things. The thing that like reminds me a lot of like early days of Tuchel is sort of our aggressiveness to win back the ball high up the pitch. And we just, we put a lot of pressure and on the other team, and we cause a lot of turnovers in their half, which allow for some pretty easy breaks, you can call them, just a couple of things that can unlock some players and just get better chances that way. But we saw that more against Wolves than we did against AC Milan. AC Milan's a little bit tougher of an opponent. We still put 3 up on them. The thing that stands out to me is we had 6 goals, and that was from 6 different people, right? It's all over the place. Sterling didn't even score, and he had been sort of our leader in the clubhouse for goals, and he didn't even have one of those goals. So they came from everywhere. I think we need that. I think we need goals to, come from a lot of different sources for us to be successful long term. We laugh because we always talked about going down the right wing with Reece James, cross the ball, pray, and hope it finds somebody, hope it ends up in the back of the net somehow. Not everything can run through Reece James, right? And I think we favor the right side, but it's not sort of that exclusive attacking outlet. There's so much more going through the middle than it did through the flanks. And that's what I really like. Balls kind of coming into Mount's feet, 1-2ing with Kai, and people kind of branching and running around off of it. And I'm seeing it, I'm like, ooh, I don't know what's happening. I don't know where people are going off of this and how it's going to end up. With end of days Tuchel, it was very much, I know how this is going to play. It's going to go here, and then it's going to go here, and then we're going to bring it back out, and then we're going to circle it around, and that's what we're going to do on the other side. Very little creativity. But the only thing that like worries me long term is anytime there's a new boss, anytime there's a new manager, people play out because you're playing for positions. You have to prove yourself again, and nobody's spot is guaranteed on a team that is as deep and as skillful as Chelsea is. New manager is going to evaluate the talent that he has in front of him. If you get in there and you don't produce, you're getting the bench because someone else is going to take that spot. So it's a gut check for players, and you get a little bit of that new manager lift, that new manager rise, and you get the best out of your players. That's not a long-term lift. That's not a forever lift. And so I think we're getting the best out of some players right now that I don't think we get towards the end of the season or into next season because of how things kind of work. So that's the only thing that worries me. That's a problem you can work through. And I hope Potter and his sort of man management style definitely has the ability to make that message stick longer term than someone like Tuchel, who's a little bit more brash. So I'm hopeful. I just think about that when I think about how to manage this team long term.
So let me pivot off of that last point real quick. We've seen the bounce off of certain players for sure, but one that I think is passing the eye test but not passing the statistical test is Mason Mount. Are we gonna, obviously he's gonna play every match that he can. That's just the Chelsea way. But are we gonna see him statistically get back into form here anytime soon, Parker?
After his 2 assist performance too. It's a really interesting question. I really hope so. I don't think you see Mace score as much. I think you would see Mace contribute to more buildups. He can be a facilitator if he plays in that sort of number 10 role behind somebody. I think he's got a really good sense about where he is and where people are around him. I think he could be a really great playmaker in that role. I just don't think you're going to see him score as much. For whatever reason, he's been less accurate than he should be. Flashback to the direct free kick where he couldn't put it on target. I mean, he just seems like he's lost a little bit of form with his accuracy when taking shots. So I think you see a statistical bump up, and I think if this is the key to unlock Mace, I think he'll be much more of a facilitator in that role.
All right. Well, last thing I want to cover here before we get to Scott and some MKE Blues talk is our 2 polls that we run after every match. And that's our man of the match poll and our man of the get the fuck out of here poll. So man of the match is what it is. It's the best player of the match. Man of the get the fuck out of here is the thing that you dislike the most out of the match. It's been a little tough the last couple games to get nominees for that one. So we'll start with man of the match.
Mason, right at the heart of that, man of the match. How good a Chelsea performance was it?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised I got man of the match, to be fair.
Curious who your guys' man of the match was this week. Your choices were Mason Mount, Dave, Kai Havertz / Christian Pulisic, and Conor Gallagher.
Just Wolves or AC Milan and Wolves?
Sorry, this is just Wolves.
I think I think I'm going Connor. Just by a bit though. I was watching Aspie, and I think that he started off kind of rocky, and then he really kind of grew into the game, and he had that almost assist as long as Pulisic would have put it away with his head, but he just freaking skied it. So he was like my really close, but it's just like Connor just seemed like he was in it the whole damn match. And again, he was being a pest, and no, he didn't get a goal or anything like that. But I mean, just like he just, man, from early on in the season, he just looks like he's really taken a turn, and that's exactly what you want to see from him. Because not trying to look too far in the future, but if you're talking about somebody that can kind of play a little bit of a Conte-esque type of role, I mean, he's got that build, man. He's just a motor, and he can contribute a little bit more on the offensive side of things. And if he's just going to press people into mistakes and tackling the ball off of people, I say go for it. So it's Connor for me.
Collins, who did you have?
I also had Connor for a lot of the same reasons. I like the N'Golo Kante comparison. Man, if N'Golo Kante could shoot, that it would be Conor Gallagher. So yeah, he was my man of the match as well.
Parks?
Oh, I'll dedicate this to my dad. Shout out to Dave Gross, because my pops was up watching the game with me, and he goes, my dad doesn't know much about soccer. He doesn't watch many matches. The last match he watched was Crystal Palace last year when Ziyech had the 89th minute winner, when we were down in Durham, North Carolina. So so he's watching the match with me, and he goes, that guy with the hair, he's really, really, really good. I like him a lot. I was like, yeah, he's doing really well. And he's like, who is he? And I said, that's Conor Gallagher. And I definitely agree. He was the most active and the most influential player. I mean, it's funny because we had 3 goals and 3 assists, and he didn't have any of those, and yet he still won it for me. He was that good. He was impactful.
Yeah. For me, it's Connor, and the biggest thing that he did for me that put it over the top, and I am wearing the jersey right now, he did have a Rudy special. He sent that ball 30 rows over the goal. So for that, he gets a nod for me. But he just was on it from minute one. That's what we've been looking for, and that's what we expected out of Connor. We saw that with him at Palace, and that's the player that we wanted. That's the player that we needed. And yes, he did have a lackluster start to the season, especially with that red card. That didn't help his cause too much, but you see what he's capable of. You know what he can do. He's still maturing, and we completely understand that. But the fact that he could take over a game like that so quickly early on, to me, it's fantastic. Dave, I thought he also had a great game. And I forgot, I sent this to you guys in the group chat, but it was, somebody made a comment about, yeah, well, if Reese was in, then he would have contributed on 3 different goals already. I'm like, no, he would have put the same ball in and it still would have been squandered. So I was like, not really too sure about that one. But I thought Dave, for what we've seen out of him lately, I thought he had a great game. But for me, the fact that Connor was in it from minute one and he did not slow down at all. I saw him make a 70-yard run tracking back and got a block on a ball. That's tough to ask out of anybody, but the fact that he can do that, and he's that's just what he does. It's almost embarrassing that we have somebody who can do that and we expect that out of him. We're like, oh yeah, Connor will be there. To be able to make that run, it's almost comical to a point. But yeah, for me, it was Connor, and I'm excited to see the form that he's taking right now.
Well, Connor may have swept it for us, but the people have spoken, and we are all wrong. It's Mason Mount with 44% of the vote. Connor coming in second with about 33%. Dave in third, and Kai/Pulisic in fourth. Let's turn to the man to get the fuck out of here.
Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing. Get the fuck out of here.
Because this one's pretty straightforward, and I swear if we don't sweep this one. So you had the nation of Portugal, Adama Traore. Nelson Semedo is an automatic on this pod. He has to be in the man to get the fuck out of here. And finally, our missed chances, which could have made it about 8-0. Any takers on this one, boys?
I have a hunch. We'll call it an educated guess. I'm going to go with missed chances.
Ding, 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 ding. 64% of the votes.
It was just so bad. It was so bad looking at all the opportunities. And again, a lot of them came in from Dave. Like they were great opportunities. It was great service from him on the right. And the thing is, if it was on target, I can live with that. They weren't even on target. I think that's probably the biggest issue. You put something at the keeper, force him to make a stop, fine. I can live with that. The fact that we had, I believe it was 8 shots and 1 on target. And I think that was Jorginho's from outside of the box that was probably going out anyways. Like, that's not great. Like, I think we can all agree on that. That's just not great. But yeah, missed chances. It's getting better. I kind of want to say it's getting better because we're scoring at least, but still, it should have easily been, 3-4-0 at half.
All right. Well, this is an easy one, Parker, so I'm going to skip you here. You can always go and vote at the conclusion of every match. We'll put up both polls. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at FlagDownPod. But to close out this pod, Scott, we'll open the floor to you. You're obviously, as I mentioned, with the Milwaukee Blues, MKE Blues, who Matt and I visit quite frequently when we're not busy. Parker, when he comes down here, absolutely does as well. But just give us a brief rundown. What exactly do the MKE Blues do?
Sure, man. Well, thanks for the open floor. Hopefully I don't make too much of an ass out of myself, but MKE Blues, man. I mean, it's so fun, man. It's a really good community and a group that we've got. And, overall too, you got to get the proper credit to, the Highbury Pub and Joe Katz, who runs the place. I know a lot of people give us some guff for the Highbury. It's an Arsenal bar, blah, 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 but it's an everything bar. It's an everybody bar. You know what I mean? And it's just a really good spot. And, they're always open for the early games, and they're just a really good crew. It's a really good family over there. So credit where credit's due. Joe Katz is always really good to us. And we try to repay the favor every once in a while when we can. But yeah, man, MKE Blues, that's where we're going to be at. We used to have Nick Korth around. Shout out to him. He did a really good job of, kind of growing the MKE Blues brand, family, whatever you want to call it. He really just did a bang up job and got us all together, got us coordinated as much as he possibly can, like herding cats. But now he's gone on to bigger and better things. He's still involved as much as he can be, but right now we're just trying to get our feet on the ground, trying to figure everything out. Much like Chelsea, it's very, very fitting. But it's become a little bit more of a group effort. But that's where we're at. That's where we will always be, Highbury Pub in Milwaukee. So whenever you want to come out, that's where we're going to be at. And it's a good time. And Chelsea's a weird fandom, and we're a weird crew. We got Carabao bombs all the time, and everybody's got their own little flavors. So it's a really good time, man. So whenever you guys want to come out, that's where we'll be.
And I know yes, I still need to order one of those hats. Those were
fantastic. A good one, man. It's a real good one.
But those Carabao bombs, I've visited a couple different chapters in my travels for work, and it's definitely exclusive to Milwaukee, it seems. Where do you know how that came about at all?
Well, I think it was a Nick thing. And obviously with, Carabao being the like training kit sponsor, and then the Carabao Cup and everything like that, it kind of, came as, it was like a joke. And I think Nick found some Carabao at like some Vietnamese grocery store somewhere in some odd corner of Milwaukee, and ended up getting just a shitload of the stuff. And, Joe put it behind the bar, and whenever we wanted Carabao bombs, and they kind of tinkered with the recipe here and there, and who knows what the recipe is nowadays. But I'll tell you what, man, they're not half bad. Carabao is a very, very acquired taste. But that's the thing, and we'll keep on doing it. I saw one of our guys just straight up drinking a Carabao the other day, and I thought he was the craziest bastard I'd seen. But you put a little bit of liquor to it, man, and goes down all the same. Whatever, gets you where you got to go.
I will say when Chelsea came to Milwaukee, what was that, last year? With the Champions League trophy, and the specialty drink involved Carabao. Oh, that's classic.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you bring up a good point too, man. I mean, just kind of like, getting back to MKU Blues, like, Chelsea did come to Milwaukee with the freaking Champions League trophy, man. And you never would have guessed that, and like, how the hell did we ever get that opportunity? And, it really goes hand in hand with, Nick doing such a good job previous, and us really getting like a really good group together. And yeah, man, I never would have guessed that. I thought we were going to be going down to Chicago to see it, which I absolutely would have done. But instead it was in a small city like Milwaukee. Like, who would have ever known? But once in a lifetime experience. And it's MKU Blues that made it happen. So, good on them.
Yeah, we here at the pod definitely appreciate all the work that the group does. Again, Matt and I frequent Highbury for Milwaukee Blues events when we can, and it's always a blast. Listeners, if you're ever in Milwaukee, make sure to stop by the Highbury and Bayview for a match. But boys, we are pushing up against the hour here. So any closing thoughts from anyone?
Solid week from the boys. Things are looking good, so just gotta keep it rolling. It's gonna be a tough month, but early signs point towards some brighter days, so looking forward to it.
Shout out to Carney Chukwuemeka on making its Chelsea debut. The future has arrived, boys.
And I can finally start wearing my jersey around.
I would just double tap on what Matt said. I mean, it was a good week for the boys. Definitely started a little bit funky this season, and where the good vibes are back, and long may they be here. So Champions League campaign looked under duress, and here we are right back in it. So who the hell knows what can happen? It's Chelsea. Who the fuck knows?
Seriously.
It's my favorite GIF right there.
That is the most accurate statement I've ever heard on this pod.
Being a Chelsea fan is the most aggravating thing in the world, except you just always know that it's going to be okay. It's always going to be okay.
I'm going to clip that. That's the most perfect description I've ever heard.
Unlike Arsenal.
Yeah, Matt, we dropped our shitting on Arsenal segment a long time ago.
It doesn't matter. It's always good for a callback.
Evergreen.
All right. Well, before we cheers to all that, let me pay some bills. If you enjoyed what you listened to today, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. All that we ask is that if you do listen to us on Spotify or Apple, that you please give us a rating on there. You can give us 5 stars and trash us. Shit talk all you want. 5 stars would be amazing. You can always follow us on social media. The pod itself can be followed on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at FlagDownPod. You can follow me, Andy. I'm at Comiskey North. You can follow Parker at DJ Parkour, and you can follow Matt at Matus Lee. And you can follow Scott at MKE Blues _Scott. If you have any questions, comments, or anything you want us to address on air, we're always happy to read what you got. So feel free to shoot us a DM, or most Sundays we'll be live on Twitch. So feel free to join us on there and join us in the chat. So that's all I've got, boys. Let's toast to hopefully another solid week and the debut of Carney Chukwuemeka.
Hey, cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm all potted out.